The Venetian Arsenal was a cornerstone of Venice's transformation from a maritime city-state into a powerful Mediterranean empire. Here's a breakdown of its significance and how it contributed to Venice's rise as a world power. Origins and early development established. The Venetian Arsenal, Arsenale di Venezia, was first constructed in 1104. Purpose: it was initially created to centralize and standardize shipbuilding for the Venetian Republic's growing navy and merchant fleet. Innovation: Venice pioneered early industrial-scale production. The arsenal featured assembly line techniques centuries before the Industrial Revolution. Workers specialized in particular tasks, and ships moved through stations, dramatically speeding up production. Mass production. By the 16th century, the arsenal employed over 16,000 workers and could produce nearly one ship a day during times of war, a staggering output for the pre-modern world. Standardization. Venice's ships, especially the famous galleys, were standardized in design and quickly repairable, a major strategic advantage. Strategic and military importance, naval supremacy. The arsenal gave Venice the military capacity to dominate trade routes in the Adriatic, Aegean, and Eastern Mediterranean. Fend off rivals like the Ottoman Empire and Genoa. Launch massive fleets such as those used in the Battle of Lepanto, 1571, where a Christian coalition defeated the Ottomans. Fortified dockyard. The arsenal was surrounded by high walls and guarded closely. It was both a military base and a high-security technological zone. The arsenal enabled Venice to control vital trade routes, ensuring wealth flowed into the Republic. Its naval power supported colonial expansion across the eastern Mediterranean, including territories like Crete, Cyprus, and parts of Dalmatia. The economic benefits from secure sea lanes allowed Venice to finance a cosmopolitan merchant economy, a vast diplomatic network, and an opulent cultural life. The arsenal was more than just a shipyard. It symbolized Venetian efficiency, innovation, and state control. It became a model studied by other European powers as they developed their own naval capabilities. As sailing ships replaced galleys and new powers like Spain and the Ottoman Empire challenged Venice, the arsenal's strategic value declined. Nonetheless, it left a lasting legacy, as a precursor to modern naval industrial complexes, as a symbol of how technological innovation and centralized production can support imperial power. Venetian Arsenal, tracing its later history, decline, and enduring legacy, along with a broader look at its influence on state power and naval strategy. Changing technology and tactics. By the 17th century, the rise of ocean-going sailing ships made Venice's galley-based navy less effective. Nations like Spain, England, and the Netherlands began to dominate the high seas with larger, more heavily armed sailing ships capable of longer voyages. The arsenal was slow to adapt to these changes. Although some updates were made, Venice struggled to keep up with the pace of naval innovation, economic competition. The shift in global trade routes after the discovery of the Americas and the passage around the Cape of Good Hope weakened Venice's economic power. Trade increasingly bypassed the Mediterranean. Rising powers like Portugal, Spain, and later the Dutch and English became the new centers of global commerce. Political and military decline. The Republic faced ongoing conflict with the Ottoman Empire, notably during the wars over Cyprus and Crete. Though Venice achieved some victories, the cost weakened the state. By the 18th century, Venice was largely a declining regional power, still wealthy and artistically vibrant, but no longer militarily dominant. Under Napoleonic and Austrian rule, 1797, Venice fell to Napoleon Bonaparte, who stripped the arsenal of much of its functionality. After Napoleon, the city came under Austrian control, and while the arsenal continued to be used for naval purposes, its role was greatly diminished. Integration into Italy. After the unification of Italy in the 19th century, the arsenal was repurposed and remained a naval installation, but it never regained its former industrial or strategic importance. Industrial and organizational innovation. The Venetian Arsenal is often seen as a precursor to the modern factory system, centralized production division of labor-standardized parts government, control and oversight influence on naval doctrine. The Arsenal allowed Venice to project power across the Mediterranean, demonstrating how state-backed industrial capacity can underpin imperial ambition. Its model would later influence naval shipyards in France, Britain, and the United States, especially during the 18th and 19th centuries. Cultural and symbolic significance today. Parts of the arsenal have been restored and repurposed for exhibitions, such as the Venice Biennale. It remains a symbol of Venice's ingenuity and power, a reminder of how engineering, commerce, and statecraft can combine to shape history. From city-state to world power, the rise of Venice, from a lagoon settlement to a thalassocratic, sea-based empire, was inseparable from the arsenal. It represents one of the earliest examples of a technologically advanced, state-run industrial complex. Through the arsenal, Venice created a professional navy-controlled vast trade networks, expanded its territorial and diplomatic influence. In many ways, the Venetian arsenal was a vision of the modern state before modern states existed, one that recognized the power of logistics, planning, and innovation as tools of geopolitical strength. Exploring the strategic philosophy behind the Venetian arsenal, its comparative significance among early modern powers, and how it foreshadowed concepts central to modern state power and industrial warfare. The arsenal, as a tool of republic-controlled Venice, was governed by a tight oligarchy, the patrician class, who feared both external invasion and internal instability. The arsenal was not just a military-industrial complex, it was a state-controlled institution designed to serve the Republic's collective interest, not private ambition. The Council of IE 10, a powerful state security body, tightly regulated arsenal operations. Espionage was punished severely, and designs were kept secret. Balancing trade and war, Venice mastered the art of dual-purpose logistics. The same fleet that protected convoys could be rapidly reconfigured for war. This flexibility meant that Venice could maintain economic and military agility, shifting between commerce and conflict with remarkable speed. Genoa and Pisa-Genoa was Venice's great rival, but it lacked a comparable centralized production facility. Its shipbuilding was distributed and more prone to delays. Pisa, another early maritime city, faded from prominence after being militarily defeated and absorbed by Florence. The Ottomans had massive dockyards in places like Galata, Istanbul, but their reliance on forced labor and slower systems of logistics made their fleets less adaptable. At Lepanto, Ottoman losses were harder to recover than Venice's, due in part to the arsenal's ability to rapidly rebuild. England, and the Dutch Republic only. Centuries later did other nations replicate Venice's model. England developed the Royal Navy's Portsmouth dockyard, moving toward standardized warship production by the late 17th century. The Dutch built efficient commercial fleets, but not until the late Renaissance did they begin to organize shipbuilding at Venice's scale. Arsenalotti, the workers of the arsenal. The arsenalotti were highly skilled laborers, carpenters, rope makers, smiths, often from families who worked in the arsenal for generations. They enjoyed a unique status, well paid, protected by guilds, and often exempt from certain taxes and laws. Their expertise allowed for early modular construction, a concept that would be reintroduced centuries later in naval warfare and shipbuilding. Supporting facilities. The arsenal complex included timber drying yards for hulls and oars, rope walks, long buildings for rope making, forge, and foundry workshops for cannons and nails. Warehouses stocked with pre-made parts. The fall of the arsenal was not merely due to outside pressures, it was also internal. Inflexibility in innovation. Venice failed to shift decisively from oared galleys to modern sailing ships, due in part to bureaucratic conservatism and lack of external competition after Genoa's decline. Aristocratic paralysis. By the 17th century, The ruling elite focused more on luxury and social prestige than innovation or reform. Geopolitical shifts. The discovery of the Americas and the opening of oceanic routes shifted the center of global power away from the Mediterranean. The Venetian Arsenal offers lasting insights that still resonate today. Lesson: modern analogy: state-run innovation hub, national defense R&D labs, e.g. DARPA, Roscosmos, mass production and logistics, WY2 era, U.S. shipyards, like Liberty Ship programs, workforce specialization, modern skilled. Labor unions and industrial training centers, surveillance, plus secrecy, in defense intelligence agencies, and cyber defense protocols, geostrategic infrastructure, modern naval bases, e.g. Pearl Harbor, Portsmouth, Sevastopol. More than Chios, a shipyard, the Venetian Arsenal was a model of centralized planning, industrial output, and strategic foresight. In an age where most European powers were still feudal or fragmented, Venice created a kind of proto-modern state, held together by maritime hegemony, efficient logistics, technological innovation, ruthless statecraft. Though it ultimately declined, Venice, and its arsenal, set the stage for the modern idea of a technologically backed superpower. Its influence can still be seen today in how governments link industrial might to geopolitical reach.